Well, call it master of all psyops, but here's something that was not expected from the Taliban, ladies and gentlemen, and we just got news coming in through. An Afghan Taliban member, an official who is working in the office of the Deputy Prime Minister, has warned Pakistan against military attacks on Afghanistan or Afghan soil by sharing a picture of the 1971 Pak army surrender to the Indian army during the liberation of what is now Bangladesh, saying that Pakistan should stay away from Afghanistan in order to avoid a repeat of such a surrender again. So that's what was put out, and thereafter, Taliban spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid has issued a strong message in Urdu, where he said that Afghanistan wants better relations with all its neighbors, including Pakistan, and he said Pakistani authorities are making statements against Afghanistan which are regrettable and not acceptable. He's also added that the Islamic Emirate is trying its best to try and ensure that the territory of Afghanistan is not used against Pakistan, but it is also the responsibility of the Pakistani side to try and control the situation. He's gone on to further add that it is advised to avoid expressing baseless and provocative ideas and suggestions. So this is sharp reaction to the Pakistani minister and Pakistani government turning around and trying to warn Afghanistan and tell Afghanistan to keep their act on the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and to say that don't allow them any kind of shelter on Afghan soil. But like they say that if you reap as you sow. So Pakistan today being pounded and also a master of a psyop that's been pushed out by this official in the Pakistani Deputy PM's office in Afghanistan. So you don't want a repeat of 1971, stay off our territory. Braggadocio, many would believe, but then this is also a phenomenal rap on the knuckles and reminding of a ghost that continues to haunt the Pakistan military establishment. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to what is perhaps a reminder to the world and especially to the West that's come in very timely by the External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, who was in a candid interview on Austrian television in Austria, and some sharp questions were being asked of him, and he was candid enough. And especially on Pakistan being the epicenter of terror, he pulled no punches. Listen into what he had to say.
I think epicenter is a very diplomatic word because this is a country which has attacked the Parliament of India some years ago, which attacked the city of Mumbai, which went after hotels and foreign tourists, which every day sends terrorists across the border. If you control your sovereign space, which I believe they do, if the terrorist camps operate in broad daylight in cities with recruitment and financing, can you really tell me that the Pakistani state doesn't know what's going on? We had agreements with China not to mass forces in our border areas. And they have not observed those agreements, which is why we have the currently tense situation that we do. We had an agreement not to unilaterally change the line of control, which they have tried to unilaterally do that. So there is, I think, a perception that we have which derives directly from our experiences.
So, not just calling out Pakistan, but also China and mincing no words there. Let's go across to Ambassador Prabhu Dayal and also General VP Malik joining us this evening. This double-barrel attack and not pulling any more punches. General Saab and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you very, very much. General Saab, finally, somebody is holding the mirror to the West, and especially when Jaishankar ji told them that this was at a time, our equation with Russia was formed at a time when the West was busy arming a dictator-led or a military-led Pakistan.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm glad that our foreign minister, he is speaking boldly and he's speaking the truth, of course. And wherever the Europeans and even the Americans have faulted, so he is showing the mirror to them. And whatever he has said in the interview in Vienna is absolutely bullseye, I would call it, because this is the way these people recently, if you recall, the foreign minister of Pakistan had the cheeks to say that while Osama Bin Laden is dead, but the butcher of Gujarat, calling our prime minister, he is alive. Now, this is the kind of language that they have been using. And knowing Mr. Jaishankar, I'm quite satisfied, quite happy the way he is speaking absolute candidly and speaking the truth, showing the mirror to those people who have been closing their eyes on all these activities, both on our northern front as well as on the western, as our western neighbor.
But General Saab, this is also at a day when very clearly the security establishment has been able to establish or also state that the Rajouri attack and the Rajouri killings have been orchestrated by a new outfit, a new terror outfit, and this has also been sent across and they have infiltrated from Pakistan. What was interesting General Saab, is that Ambassador and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, I'll come to you after this, that Foreign Minister Jaishankar told the West, why is it that you are not ready to call Pakistan for its terrorism? Because the interviewer kept asking, is there going to be an India-Pakistan war in the future or conflict in the future? He said, you're looking at the future, whereas that means you are anyway endorsing or saying, all right, let Pakistan continue with its terrorism. You're not calling out Pakistan for its terrorism. Is this where we have been, or we have, we are lagging behind in controlling the narrative? That Pakistan has been able to perhaps fool the West or get the West to think that what it's doing is all right?
No. Is it to me?
Yes, General Saab, and then I'll bring in Ambassador Prabhu Dayal on the same.
Yeah, you see, firstly, I think that the way that question was put by the interviewer in Vienna on that ORF channel, I thought that was quite immature. You know, you are trying to provoke the foreign minister and you are making him say something which he doesn't wish to say that. You know, and something totally, I would say, undiplomatic way of interviewing a senior minister of his stature. And so therefore, I think the reply that he gave to that interviewer was absolutely apt and candid. That is how it should be. And there is no need for us to talk of war between India and Pakistan or India and China, but whatever the situation is, that needs to be understood by everybody outside our region, which is what this interviewer was lacking. He did not, obviously, did not want to mention what is going on, the reason for the tension that is going on between India and Pakistan, why India is refusing to talk to them, because they will not stop terrorism in our country for such a long time. Everybody knows in the world that for a very long time, Pakistan has been funding terrorists on its soil. And that is exactly what our foreign minister said to him, which I thought was a very correct reply. And talking about Rajouri, again, I mean, the fact is that this is what is going on. Not only what has happened in Rajouri, but also look at the number of drones which are now being landed in India to drop drugs and to drop the guns and rifles and ammunition, etc. So there is no let up from Pakistan's side. And there is no reason for us to, to give them, to show a blind eye to these things. We will say what needs to be said in the whole world.
But are we saying it perhaps a tad too late only now? And is that why Pakistan somehow tends to control the narrative? So whatever Pakistan does is not talked about. How India reacts and what India does becomes the the whole aspect structure of the entire Western narrative, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. That's what I was trying to point.
Well, as General Malik said, the West has been turning a blind eye to the terrorist operations which the Pakistan establishment indulges in. Pakistan uses non-state actors to carry out terrorist attacks against India. But because it is inconvenient for the West to focus its attention on them, such incidents get ignored or they are put on the back burner. As you said, the West likes to talk about what India's reaction has been. But then, more and more instances are now coming to light where even some of the Western countries are being affected by terrorism which is emanating from Pakistan. We all know that Osama Bin Laden was given shelter by the Pakistanis and he was killed in Abbottabad, not far from the headquarters of the army establishment there. We also know that the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks in the United States, that mastermind was a Pakistani. And there are many, many more instances which have now surfaced where there is clear involvement of Pakistan-based organizations in terrorist acts, not just against India but against other countries also. So I hope that the Western countries will now wake up to the reality of what Pakistan is, and they will call a spade a spade.
But that's the point, Ambassador.
They will name the terrorist state.
Do they need to wake up, or do they know but they turn a blind eye? Because there is a vested geopolitical interest there, and that was being served. Because that also was called out by Ambassador Jaishankar, Foreign Minister Jaishankar.
Well, they ought to wake up to the necessity of calling out Pakistan as a sponsor of terrorism. They have been completely shy of calling a spade, although they know what the true colors of Pakistan are. So in my view, it is time for them to criticize Pakistan where they need to criticize and call out the true colors of Pakistan, which is its terrorism sponsoring color.
But is it also, General Saab, somewhere are we to be faulted as a country for not asserting ourselves? For not asserting the strength that we are with 1/5 of the world's population, with as one of the fastest growing countries in the world, and the force that we are to be reckoned with? Because the US President Joe Biden can get away with saying wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you hide, we will hunt you down no matter how long. And that's hailed by the world. Then India should also have the right to say that we will hunt down, and wherever you are, you dare raise a finger against India, we will hunt you down. We don't have that attitude. Is that our fault? Are we to be faulted there?
Look, we are not, of course, as a nation, we are not used to speaking a very harsh language, which you have quoted just now. And all our diplomats over the years have been speaking a very soft language compared to that, which may be at fault sometimes. And I'm glad that the present foreign minister is now speaking. I wouldn't call it a harsh language, but it definitely a straightforward, harder language. But then there are other reasons also why the West is so scared of Pakistan and calling a spade there. One, of course, is the nuclear weapons. And they keep on harping on it because they are not too sure whether nuclear weapons in Pakistan are in the right hands. So that's one scare which is being spread by Pakistan, and it is taken by the Western countries. The other reason is that maybe our own communications also is not very good. And the fact is that New York Times and many others, they keep talking about India, but mostly in adverse terms. Why? So apparently there is something wrong with our communication policy which needs to be corrected, and which needs to be corrected in the Western world, particularly both in Europe as well as in USA.
So you believe that there is a need to perhaps not just correct the narrative and the tone, but also those who are setting the narrative somewhere influence those people also, or those elements also. And somewhere has Pakistan stolen a march from us, and do we need to correct that? Are we in the process of doing that now, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal? This soft approach doesn't work.
Not stolen a march on us. Pakistan is widely recognized as a failed country. It is not just sponsoring terrorism, but it is neglecting the welfare of its own people, which is why it is in the doldrums. And we have been identifying all the negative tendencies of Pakistan. We have in our interaction with other countries, we have been apprising them about what Pakistan really stands for and how it harms not only us, but will potentially harm other countries too. Unfortunately, sometimes Pakistan is regarded as a strategic ally, for instance, by the United States when it needs Pakistan's assistance in regard to Afghanistan. So Pakistan fully utilizes whatever credentials it has as a possible ally or tool or whatever you may call for Western countries, which is why they become soft. But we have not been failing in apprising all concerned about what we think is the true nature of Pakistan.
No, it's not. It's not just and
many countries are quite
somewhere
cognizant of the reality of Pakistan.
Somewhere like China, does the West will also recognize only might? Will they only recognize a nation that is ready to exercise might and force and teach others and just slap the adversary down on the ground and put them on the mat? Well, that's food for thought. I thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom on this platform. Winding up the right stand on that note. Stay with us. Zaka's ready with brass tacks.